You didn't stumble here by accident. Something brought you, a quiet nudge, a whisper in your heart. You have been searching for answers, for meaning, for direction, and somehow these words have found you in this exact moment. Not to entertain you, but to remind you of what you already know deep inside. That your life is not random. That the stillness you feel, the pressure you carry, the changes you see, they are all part of something bigger. Bigger than fear, bigger than doubt, bigger than the limits you have placed on yourself. This is your sign to stop running from the shift and start leaning into it. Because something divine is about to move in your life. And when it does, you will never see yourself the same way again. Have you ever walked into an empty room and heard the echo of your own footsteps? That feeling is much like the moment before your life changes completely. Not every beginning is announced with fireworks and cheering crowds. Sometimes, the very first sign is silence. You notice your calendar becoming lighter, the invitations slow down, the messages take longer to arrive, and at first you panic. You think, did I do something wrong? But sometimes, stillness is not punishment. It is the space the universe, or you might call it Krishna, God, the source, is clearing for what is about to arrive. I remember a season in my own life when I was working on a big project. The team was large, full of energy, everyone busy with their part. Then, one week, people started leaving, one after another. The meetings became fewer. The group chat went quiet. I felt like the ground had vanished under my feet. But one morning, I sat alone with my coffee and realized something profound. This emptiness wasn't a void to fear. It was an invitation, an opening for me to ask, where do I truly want to go? When you begin to see stillness as soil rather than as loss, everything changes. The silence becomes a fertile field. The pauses become places where seeds can be planted. Krishna may be removing what no longer serves your highest path, closing doors that are too worn to hold any future for you. Even if you're still trying to force them open, you'll notice something strange. The harder you fight the quiet, the heavier your heart feels. But the moment you start to surrender to it, peace begins to appear. It's not the peace of everything going well. It's the peace of knowing that you are being prepared. Prepared for something you cannot yet name, but will recognize when it comes. Stillness is like the ground being tilled before planting. It looks messy. It doesn't look like growth, but it is the very foundation of growth. It is the space where roots will find their way deep into the earth. Think of it this way. When a sculptor begins a masterpiece, the first thing they do is remove stone. They chip away what doesn't belong. The block looks smaller and smaller, but it is in that removal that beauty emerges. The same is true for your life. The universe removes what is not part of your next chapter. And yes, that removal feels like loss. But loss is often just preparation disguised in shadows. There is a sacred reason why silence comes before change. If the room is still full of yesterday's noise, you won't hear tomorrow's call. If your heart is cluttered with old attachments, you won't feel the pull toward what's next. The emptiness is making space for the extraordinary. So the next time you feel life growing quieter, resist the urge to fill it with distractions. Instead, sit with it. Listen. Let the quiet speak to you. Let Krishna work in the unseen, rearranging the pieces you cannot yet see. You are not being abandoned. You are being aligned. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. And when the wave finally comes, you will understand why the stillness had to come first. When change is approaching, it rarely arrives with a formal announcement. It doesn't send you a letter in the mail or knock politely at your door. It slips in quietly, almost unnoticed at first, and leaves a trail of signs for you to discover. Some people call them coincidences, but if you pay attention, you'll know they're not random. These are the signals that something greater, something orchestrated by divine hands, is taking shape in your life. One of the first signs is that silence begins to feel different. It's not the silence of loneliness anymore. It's the silence of preparation, a quiet that feels charged, like the air just before a storm. When you're sitting alone, you may suddenly feel a sense of expectation without knowing why. That is your spirit sensing alignment. Another sign is that people begin to drift away. Old friends stop calling. Familiar circles feel distant. At first, you'll be tempted to chase after them, to fix what's fading. But sometimes, what's leaving your life is being removed for a reason. Krishna does not take without giving something greater in return. Think of it as pruning a tree. Branches that no longer bear fruit are cut away so the rest can flourish. You may also notice a restlessness with things that once brought joy. The hobbies, habits, or routines that used to excite you suddenly feel empty. It's not because you've become ungrateful. It's because your soul is outgrowing them. The heart cannot stay in a room that no longer has windows. It longs for fresh air, for new landscapes, for the unknown. Another sign is repeating symbols or thoughts that appear in your life. Perhaps you keep seeing a certain number, hearing a certain phrase in conversations or songs, or feeling drawn to the same dream over and over. These repetitions are not meaningless. They are breadcrumbs leading you to your next chapter. When you notice them, pause and ask, "What is this trying to tell me?" You may also find yourself becoming more tender, more emotional. You cry more easily. Your heart softens toward people you used to judge. It's not weakness, it's transformation. The hard armor you built over the years is melting away so that you can step into the next season with openness. Then, there is the pressure. When something big is about to happen, life can feel heavier. Challenges arise one after another. Old wounds resurface. You might think you're going backward, but you're not. You are being tested, refined, and strengthened so that you can carry what's coming. Like a seed pushing through the soil, the resistance you feel is part of the emergence. One of the most powerful signs is the call to simplify. You feel the urge to let go of clutter, to clean your home, to release things that no longer serve you. This is not just physical, it's emotional and spiritual as well. The more you lighten your load, the more room you make for what's on the way. And then there's the deep pull toward stillness. It's as if something inside you says, slow down, rest, listen. In the world's eyes, this may look like laziness, but in divine timing, it's alignment. Rest is not the absence of action. It is the preparation for the right action. All these signs, the silence, the drifting away, the restlessness, the repetition, the tenderness, the pressure, the simplification, the stillness, are not random. They are threads in a tapestry you can't yet see. Each one is being woven into a picture that will only make sense in hindsight. The challenge is to trust the process even when you don't have the full pattern in front of you. Krishna moves in ways that are often invisible until the right moment. Your role is not to force the outcome, but to stay awake to the signs. They are not just events in your life. They are messages. And if you listen closely, you'll realize that these signs are not telling you something might happen. They are telling you it already has. The shift is not coming. It's here. Maya was the kind of person who filled every corner of her calendar. Her corporate job demanded her attention from morning till night. The meetings, the deadlines, the constant stream of emails, they made her feel important, but also trapped. One day, without warning, her company announced a restructuring. Entire departments were dissolved. Friends she had worked with for years were suddenly gone. Her own position was safe for the moment, but her role changed so drastically that her days became strangely quiet. At first, the silence felt like a threat. She worried the emptiness meant she was falling behind. But as weeks passed, she began taking long walks in the park during her lunch break. She started sketching again, something she hadn't done since college. That quiet time awakened an old dream she thought she had buried, the dream of creating art that could help people heal. Within a year, she left the corporate world entirely. She launched a small art therapy studio. It grew slowly, but the work lit her up inside in a way no paycheck ever had. When she looks back now, she says the silence she feared most was actually the gift she needed most. Rohan had been with his partner for over a decade. They had weathered many seasons together, but in recent years, something shifted. Conversations became shallow. Evenings passed in silence, not the comfortable kind, but the aching kind. Rohan tried to force things back to how they once were, planning trips, buying gifts, filling the calendar, but nothing worked. Then, one evening, while journaling, a question rose in his mind. What if this distance is not failure, but invitation? He realized he had been holding on to an old version of their relationship, one that no longer fit who they were becoming. Instead of pushing harder, he pulled back gently. He began to focus on his own growth, reading, meditating, seeking counsel. Slowly, his partner noticed the change. They began having honest conversations, not about going back, but about moving forward. It wasn't instant magic, but over time, the connection rebuilt itself, deeper and more authentic than before. What looked like the end was actually a rebirth. Lena had planned every step of her life: graduate school, a prestigious internship, the perfect job in a big city. But halfway through her program, her father fell seriously ill. Without hesitation, she moved back home to care for him. She thought she was putting her life on pause, but during those months, she discovered a deep love for community work. She started volunteering at a local shelter, teaching job skills to people in transition. The joy she felt there far surpassed anything she had imagined in her original career plan. After her father recovered, she didn't return to the city. She stayed and built a nonprofit that now serves hundreds each year. She says she thought she was losing everything, but she was actually being led to her true calling. These stories share a common thread: a disruption, a loss, a silence, and then a redirection that revealed a deeper purpose. It's never easy in the moment. Maya didn't see her studio coming. Rohan didn't know his relationship could grow stronger. Lena didn't imagine she'd find joy in her hometown. But each of them can look back and see the signs were there: the drifting away, the restlessness, the repeating whispers of the heart, the moments of tenderness, the pressure that forced them to act. This is how divine alignment often works. It doesn't hand you a map, it hands you a lamp. Just enough light for the next step, and when you take that step, the next one appears. One by one, without rushing, the path unfolds. The challenge is trusting that the path is there, even when you can't see it in full. Because in the spiritual life, the evidence always comes after the faith. When you look back on the hardest seasons of your life, do you notice something? They often gave you the deepest wisdom you carry today. Pain has a strange way of becoming the doorway to clarity. Loss, silence, and endings strip away what is unnecessary, so you can finally see what is essential. In the moment, it feels unfair. It feels like the universe is against you. But later, with distance, you see the design hidden inside the chaos. What you thought was rejection was redirection. What you thought was failure was preparation. The reason we often miss the beauty of these seasons is because we frame them the wrong way. We think, something has gone wrong, but what if nothing has gone wrong? What if everything is going exactly as it needs to, even if it doesn't match your plan? Krishna does not move according to our deadlines. Divine timing has its own rhythm, one that is often slower and deeper than we expect. This is why comparison is so dangerous. When you look at someone else's timeline, you forget that your story has a different script. The oak tree and the sunflower do not grow at the same pace, yet both reach their fullness. Your life has its own seasons, and no season is wasted. Even winter, when everything looks dead, is a time when roots are growing deeper. Think about the times you felt left behind, friends moving ahead, opportunities passing you by. Now think about what those gaps made possible. Maybe you learned a skill you now use daily. Maybe you met someone you wouldn't have met otherwise. Maybe you avoided a path that would have led to more pain. In my own life, I've had moments where I begged for doors to stay open. I pushed. I tried to force outcomes, and every time I ended up exhausted, only to find out later that the door closed to protect me. The universe, God, Krishna, whatever name you use, sees further than we can. We see the next bend in the road. The divine sees the entire map. And sometimes, what you think you want would actually delay your real destiny. This is why reframing matters so much. Instead of saying, "I lost something," you can say, "I'm being prepared for something better." Instead of, "I'm stuck," you can say, "I'm being refined." Instead of, "I'm alone," you can say, "I'm being given space to grow." These shifts in language aren't just positive thinking. They are acts of faith. They are declarations that you trust the unseen even when the visible feels empty. Faith doesn't mean pretending you're not hurting. It means holding on to the belief that your pain is not the end of the story. When you choose to reframe, you take back your power. You stop being a victim of circumstance and start being a co-creator with the divine. You begin to see the signs in real time instead of only in hindsight. The stillness becomes sacred instead of scary. The pressure becomes a teacher instead of a punishment. The endings become gateways instead of graves. And when you live like this, you notice something else too. Gratitude begins to appear in the strangest places. You start to thank the storms for what they cleared away. You start to bless the detours for where they led you. You start to trust that nothing is wasted. Not the delays, not the tears, not the confusion. Every moment is part of the design. And the more you trust that design, the less you need to control it. The less you need to control it, the freer you feel. This freedom is the real gift of reframing. It doesn't just help you survive hard seasons. It helps you thrive in them. Because you stop waiting for life to be perfect before you allow yourself to live fully. You realize perfection isn't the goal. Alignment is. And alignment can happen in silence, in chaos, in heartbreak, if you are willing to see it. This is why the way you interpret your season matters just as much as the season itself. You cannot always choose what happens to you, but you can choose how you name it, and the name you give it will shape the story you live. The journey you are on right now is not random. Every twist, every delay, every closed door has been part of a larger plan. You may not see the full picture yet, but that doesn't mean it isn't there. When you are close to a breakthrough, it is common for life to feel harder. The pressure increases. The waiting feels endless. It may even seem like you are moving backwards. But in reality, you are being positioned. Think of an arrow being pulled back before it is released. The backward motion is necessary for the forward launch. The tension you feel is not a sign to give up. It is a sign to hold steady. You are closer than you think. In these moments, letting go becomes the most powerful thing you can do. Let go of your timelines. Let go of the picture of how you thought life should look. Let go of comparing your path to someone else's. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be for the next step to unfold. Krishna's timing is precise, even if it feels slow to you. When the right moment comes, everything will move quickly, but only once you are ready to carry what is meant for you. Until then, the preparation is just as sacred as the arrival. Look for the signs around you. They are not always dramatic. Sometimes they are hidden in a sentence you overhear. A song that plays at the perfect time. A verse that speaks directly to your situation. The divine has endless ways of getting your attention. Your role is to stay awake, to stay open, and to keep your heart tuned to the whisper beneath the noise. And if all else fails, return to stillness. In the quiet, you will find the presence that has never left you. In the hush between your breaths, you will hear, "It's almost time." You have not been forgotten. You have been chosen. And chosen ones are not rushed. They are prepared. So when things fall apart, do not panic. When plans are delayed, do not lose faith. When you feel like nothing is happening, look deeper. Often, the most important changes are the ones happening inside you. You are becoming the person who can carry the blessing, and that is the real miracle. Soon, you will look back and realize that this was the moment everything began to shift. The stillness, the waiting, the refining. They were not wasted time. They were the foundation for the life you are stepping into. So take a breath, Make room for miracles. The story is not over. In fact, it's just beginning. Stay open, stay expectant, stay close. Because what is coming will be more beautiful than you can imagine. And when it arrives, you will know it was meant for you all along. If these words have spoken to you, hold them close. Because the signs you've been seeing are not just coincidences. They are confirmations. You are not too late. You are not behind. You are right where you are meant to be. The waiting has not been wasted. The preparation has not been in vain. The door you've been praying for is already turning on its hinges. And when it opens, you will understand every delay, every detour, every silent night. So keep your head lifted. Keep your spirit open. Stay close to the voice that led you here. Because what's coming will not just meet your expectations. It will exceed them in ways you can't yet imagine. This is not the end. It's the beginning of the most beautiful chapter of your life.